Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Racist cop mocks black teen in court, but soon regrets it. In Chicago's working-class Bronzeville neighborhood lived Jasmine Carter, a 17-year-old black girl. She was the eldest child in a modest but close-knit family. Her mother, Angela, worked as a nurse in a public hospital, while her father, who had died a few years earlier, had been involved in the local community. Jasmine carried the hope of her entire family on her shoulders. At Lincoln High School, Jasmine was known for more than just her excellent grades. A bright and passionate student, she excelled in literature and public speaking. An active member of the debate club, she enjoyed championing just causes and practicing how to formulate her arguments with precision and composure. Her composure wasn't passive, but an inner strength that impressed her teachers and classmates. Despite the daily challenges, the occasional contemptuous stares, the stereotypes she faced, Jasmine refused to let these obstacles define her. She dreamed of prestigious universities and a career where her voice would count. That evening, a Thursday in autumn, she had just finished rehearsing for the school play, in which she played the lead role. The cool wind rustled the fallen leaves on the sidewalk as she walked alone, her backpack laden with books clutched to her. She enjoyed this quiet walk, a time when she could let her thoughts run free. But this calm was abruptly interrupted. As she approached the nearby department store, a police van screeched to a halt. Officer Derek Collins, a white man in his 40s with a known tough temper, got out with a frown. Collins had a reputation for being intolerant, and many in the precinct knew of his penchant for automatically suspecting young black people in the neighborhood without evidence. Tonight, he seemed to be looking for a target. Without warning, he accused Jasmine of stealing a watch from the store. His words were harsh, sharp, and echoed through the deserted street. "Hey you, stop. I heard you wanted to make off with a watch without paying." Jasmine, surprised and shocked, replied calmly but firmly, "I didn't take anything. You're mistaken." But Officer Collins wouldn't listen. Ignoring her protests, he grabbed her arm, causing a dull pain and the humiliation of being treated like a criminal on the street. Passers-by stopped, some whispering, others looking away. Jasmine felt the weight of the stares, the judgment hanging in the air. Taken to the police station, she endured a humiliating search, her belongings turned over, her words minimized, her innocence denied. Her pleas for reason and justice seemed to fall on a cold void. That night, Jasmine couldn't sleep. In her small cell, she wondered how a simple outing could turn into a nightmare. Yet, deep inside her, a flame of hope still burned. She knew she had to fight, not just for herself, but for all those silenced because of the color of their skin. A few weeks later, Jasmine Carter's trial began in the old Cook County courtroom. The historic venue often witnessed intense legal battles, but on this day, there was something special about the atmosphere. The room was packed. Neighbors from the neighborhood, community activists, students from her high school, and curious onlookers had come to witness the trial. In the front row, Angela Carter, Jasmine's mother, clenched her fists, her face tense but resolute. Beside her, Marcus, the 22-year-old older brother, tried to project a confidence he didn't fully feel. Their gaze never left Jasmine, who seemed ready to face this ordeal with impressive dignity. At their side was Rachel Simmons, their attorney, a woman in her 40s known in the community for her commitment to civil rights and minority rights. Rachel had taken on the case with passion, seeing this trial as more than just a case, a fight against a biased system. When Officer Derek Collins entered the room, a heavy silence fell. His smirk and condescending gaze were an invitation to provocation. When it was his turn to testify, he stepped forward with a confident, almost arrogant stance. He looked down on Jasmine, addressing her with a mocking, disdainful tone. "Agent Collins," with a sneer. "So, young lady, tell us again how you magically forgot the watch you supposedly stole. You know, stories like that don't work with me." A murmur ran through the room, some chuckling behind their hands, others shaking their heads, embarrassed by the arrogance. Jasmine, undaunted, slowly raised her head and stared into the officer's eyes, refusing to be intimidated. Jasmine, in a calm but firm voice, "I didn't steal this watch. I'm here because someone decided to judge me before they even knew the truth." A respectful silence followed his statement. His calmness contrasted with the suppressed anger within the officer. Then it was Rachel's turn to speak. Her voice, calm but marked by determination, filled the room. Rachel Simmons. Ladies and gentlemen, this trial should not be happening. Jasmine Carter was arrested not because she is guilty, but because Officer Collins acted based on prejudice. We will prove that the evidence is non-existent, and that this case is an injustice. Over the next few days, several witnesses were called. The store manager, a man in his 60s, testified honestly. Store manager, I can assure you I saw nothing. Miss Carter did not steal the watch. A visibly nervous employee revealed under pressure that he had received indirect orders to accuse Jasmine in order to close the case quickly. This testimony sent shivers through the audience. But the most decisive moment came when a video emerged, an unexpected piece of evidence provided by a local resident. Jasmine's phone clearly showed her leaving the store without the stolen items, followed by a disturbing scene where Officer Collins appeared to be handling items off camera. A murmur of disbelief filled the room. This video was going to be a game-changer. The day the video was presented in court, the atmosphere in the courtroom was heavy with anticipation. Everyone held their breath, aware that this moment could change the course of justice. The screen lit up, projecting crisp, clear images. The silence became almost palpable, like a weight hanging in the air. The video showed Jasmine Carter leaving the store, her bag slung over her shoulder, her face calm, without the slightest trace of anything stolen. She walked lightly, almost indifferent, unaware that an unfounded accusation was being made against her. Then the plan changed. Out of direct view of the surveillance camera, but captured on a cell phone held by a discreet witness, appeared Officer Derek Collins. His behavior was both furtive and nervous. He could be seen handling objects placed near the counter, a watch that, until then, had disappeared from the statements. But that wasn't all. The video also recorded a voice exchange, captured despite apparent discretion, between Collins and another officer. Collins's voice, low and urgent, echoed through the room. Keep this girl from making too much noise. And above all, make sure she pleases the jury, whatever it takes. A murmur of indignation rippled through the assembly. Several people turned to Collins, their gazes filled with contempt. Judge Harper, a middle-aged man with a grave face marked by years of legal practice, slowly straightened. His gaze became piercing. In a solemn voice heavy with reproach, he addressed the officer. Judge Harper, solemn. Agent Collins, how do you explain these images where you are manipulating evidence and ordering the jury to be influenced? Collins's face suddenly turned red, his hands visibly shaking, betraying a nervousness he'd never shown before. He stammered, searching for words, gradually losing his usual confidence. Agent Collins, stammering. I just wanted justice to be done. A heavy silence fell. Then, firmly, Rachel Simmons stood up, her eyes burning with determination. Rachel Simmons, firm. Justice, Mr. Collins, is not achieved through falsification and discrimination. It is not achieved by trampling on the rights of an innocent young girl. This court cannot accept such practices. The room erupted in murmurs, some quietly applauding. Jasmine, her eyes misty, felt a wave of hope wash over her. The prosecutor, who had been silent until then, stood up in turn, his expression grim. The tide seemed to be turning. This trial, which had begun under somber auspices, might finally bring the truth to light. The heavy silence that had followed the presentation of the video and the shocking revelations in the courtroom gave way to a palpable tension. Judge Harper, after a long observation of Officer Collins and consideration of the damning evidence, took a deep breath. He sat down behind his desk, put down his glasses, and then declared in a firm but somewhat serious voice. Judge Harper, after carefully reviewing the evidence presented, this court concludes that the charges against Jasmine Carter have no substantial basis and were influenced by discriminatory and abusive behavior. Therefore, all charges against her are dismissed immediately. A breath of relief rippled through the room. The previously tense faces relaxed, and some visitors shed discreet tears. A timid applause began, slowly turning into a subdued but sincere ovation. Jasmine stood motionless, her eyes shining with emotion, but her demeanor remained dignified. She looked at her mother, Angela, who gave her a proud smile. Marcus hugged his sister, while Rachel Simmons, visibly moved, placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. When the uproar subsided, Jasmine spoke in a clear voice, blending strength and hope, looking toward the future. Jasmine, with a glimmer of hope in her voice. This fight isn't just mine. It's not just a personal victory. It's the fight of all those who have been wrongly judged, discriminated against, or silenced. Our truth deserves to be heard, everywhere, always. This trial should be a reminder. Injustice can be fought, and the truth will ultimately triumph. The room applauded again, this time with renewed warmth and sincerity. The journalists present frantically took notes, aware that this case resonated far beyond the courtroom walls. Shortly thereafter, Officer Derek Collins was officially suspended from duty, pending the outcome of a thorough disciplinary investigation into allegations of abuse of power, tampering with evidence, and racial discrimination. His once rigorous reputation was irreparably tarnished. Many within the force called for reform and greater vigilance against discriminatory practices. For Jasmine, this ordeal was a turning point. She became a symbol of resistance and courage in her neighborhood, actively engaging in movements for social justice and equal rights. Her story was featured in local and national media, inspiring many young people to never give up in the face of injustice. At school, her classmates now looked up to her with admiration, not only for her academic achievements, but also for her strength and resilience. Invitations to speak at conferences and community events poured in, and Jasmine became an important voice for young people from marginalized backgrounds. This painful and trying trial revealed a broader truth, that the fight against prejudice and abuse must be waged relentlessly, and that the courage of a few can overturn the most deeply rooted injustices.